Debola and Red Media, young organization, but you play a pivotal role in the Buhari campaign.
Yeah.
Do you guys regret the job that you did? Because there are those who are cursing and say, whoever bring this Buhari government, because of the aftermath of that government and what people perceive as maybe the failings or the failure of that government. Do you regret being the one who sold and packaged what a lot of Nigerians saw as a government that set Nigeria back 20 years in time?
This is also why I say that, because I'm a PR person, you know, I'm a PR consultant. We've worked with bank MDs. And I know that the easiest answer for my life is to say yes, you know. But unfortunately, that will not be true. Doing that work was one of the greatest privileges of my life. Being selected before I was 30 to craft the voice of a historic presidential campaign was a great honor of my life. And it would be ungrateful and hypocritical to pretend that it didn't change my life. So on a professional view, on a professional, and it's interesting because all the people who were with, the people who were more central, when people say they're upset with the people who worked in the campaign, I said, but the people who worked on that campaign are all in the ADC now. Governor Mechi is in the ADC, Atiku Abubakar is in the ADC, El-Rufai is in the ADC. So you have to really be sure, who are you? Are you really angry? Because these are the people that orchestrated the candidacy and brought the candidacy for us to sell. So first, on a professional basis, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I enjoyed doing the work. It's nothing, people cannot understand what it means to do a national campaign. And this wasn't just a national campaign, it was a movement candidacy. It was, you know, people forget how, I tell people that, and I write it in my book, up until Buhari was declared the president, I didn't believe he was going to win. When I say, one of my colleagues, Joachim Makebong, I remember on that day when he had done the modeling and said Buhari was going to be the winner based on the result, I said, no, you are being too optimistic. Use our pessimistic modeling. So people forget that at that time, this was an insurgent candidacy, that it wasn't, you were not doing it because you thought power was coming mostly. You were doing it because it was an exciting movement to be a part of. So those two levels. And on another level, this candidacy and the election win redrew the political map that is still redrawn till today. Yeah? So it was not just personally significant, it was historic politically and nationally. So that's the second level. The third level is, no, I cannot regret something that I believed in. I can only learn from it. Yeah? So I believed in the candidacy. I worked for the candidacy from my heart. I genuinely thought that the candidacy was that presidency was going to change our country fundamentally. And I do believe on some level it did, not the way I expected it and not to the degree that I expected it. So I was disappointed, and I wrote about it, I've said it in public, I was disappointed. I was disappointed from year one. I went on the streets to protest
the Buhari government.
From year one. You know, and burned bridges in that government.
But I mean, this was how can you, is it not hypocritical for you to say you are disappointed in a government you sold to the Nigerian people?
No,
you were the one who sold it. Packaged Buhari in the man from the military uniform, and I mean, how can you be disappointed?
It's like saying a woman who gets into a marriage and divorces the husband is responsible for the husband's domestic violence. You're not responsible for the actions of another person. You're responsible for your own actions.
Didn't you see the candidate as ineffective or incapable of doing the things that you
before
said
getting into the
do?
office? No, I didn't. I clearly didn't. Nobody who did. So I write in the book that there were a lot of grifters in this, and as in all political parties, as in all political movements. But I know that there were a lot of true believers. And, you know, sometimes I wish we didn't win so that the purity of that movement could be seen correctly in history. People believed in this. I believed.
It was sold well to the Nigerian people.
Yes, it was sold well.
And the circumstances also allowed the PR job to be just perfect.
Well, yes. Because I'm proud of the work.
Yeah.
It was good work. So there were two things that were happening. People don't understand. We own a political consulting company. I stepped off as CEO of Red Media 12 years ago. And Red Media continues to work for candidates across Africa and governments across Africa. We were doing it before Buhari, we were doing it after Buhari. I never spoke about any of the candidates we worked for in public. Yeah, I never spoke about them.
Because of conflict of interest?
No. I spoke about Buhari because I believed in him. Because you can do a job, you can be an event organizer and you can do a job for a candidate you don't believe in. Yes. Yeah. But the only reason I spoke about this candidate was because I personally believed in that candidate. Now, what happens is that people usually start, because the Buhari election made me popular, on a mainstream level. But unfortunately for most people, their story of my life started in the Buhari campaign. But if you go 1 year before, the courage of that decision will become clear. 1 year before the Buhari campaign, the Future Awards was hosted in Aso Rock by Goodluck Jonathan. The Future Awards, it has never been done before. The president hosted my private event in Aso Rock. That is how connected I was in the Jonathan government. And I'm also very grateful to Jonathan for the opportunities he gave young people like me. And there's many credits to him, the entertainment sector, the opening of the civic space, all of that. And so if money was the issue, I wouldn't be working for the Buhari campaign because I was already close to money. And it wasn't in the, I'm not telling you something that is in the back. I was in, as it was broadcast live, it was on the NTA. So I was already close to power. Then Chibok happened. I didn't hide it. It wasn't hidden. As at that time, I was still close to the government. And I write it in my book. At the World Economic Forum in Abuja, a government official high up said to me, and I write it in the book, that the government knew early enough that the girls had been kidnapped. And they thought their enemies were using it against them. And so they didn't move as fast as they should. Now, you can't unhear what you hear. Now I'm older. I might handle things differently. I might not burn that bridge so fast. I might have been more conscious of the people who were gracious enough to bring me into this government as a consultant, and whose judgment would have been questioned. I wish I knew better. There were people who believed in me. And you know how politics is. So they vouched for me. And then because I was angry at this government, I put them in a tough position. I regret that. I'm sad about that. But I didn't know. I was a young man. I didn't know what I know now. But the point is, that's what made me turn on the Jonathan government. I turned on it because I lost faith in it. And so that was before the APC got aligned, before it became the powerful political party. So it wasn't because I was looking for power or money or all of that. We already had those. It was because I wanted that government to be defeated. And I was ready to join any candidacy that had the best chance of defeating that government. So for the first time, my personal politics and my professional obligations dovetailed publicly. That's what people saw.
You don't see it as betrayal?
Which one?
Against the Jonathan government?
No, I don't say that betrayal because I wasn't a political operative, the Jonathan government.
But you benefited from it?
Yes, that's fine. So it's good.
So I don't say that. In one breath, they gave you this platform, this opportunity. In another breath, you're working against that government.
No, because the government, I didn't work for the government as a political operative. I didn't campaign for the government. I'm a private organization. You have people in the government who believe in the work we are doing. It's that same integrity that made them like me that made me turn against them. Yes, and so they may have misunderstood me. They may have misapprehended me. That's not on me. But it was the same values that made me associate, that made me disassociate. Again, the older I get, the less self-righteous I am. Then my righteousness was boiling hot. Now, I'll be careful in managing the relationships, even if I'm turning my back on them. But it wasn't a betrayal. The alternative would have been to betray myself. I like who I am. I like that I turned my back on the opportunities, on the money, on all of that. It makes me proud of myself. And as it was for Jonathan, so it was for Buhari.